Well, welcome once again. It's time for another story with Joel Johnson. This story involves a teacher. Teacher's been teaching for a lot of years. She's getting a little tired, a little wore down, and struggling with her career. She's not too sure she wants to continue, but she's going to give her one more shot. One more year. Maybe this will be the year that she gets inspired once again to be a teacher. Well, she gets a list of all the kids that are going to be in her class. There's Billy, and there's Sally, and there's Jimmy, and Lucy. And beside each name, there's a number. And the numbers range from the mid 100s to the low 100s. The lowest number was like 108, and there's like 125, and there was like 120. And she looked at these numbers, and even a couple 140s were in there, and she was so excited. She said, this must be their IQs, because last year, at the end of the year, we took an IQ test. Every kid had an IQ test. First time we ever did it. Wow, this must be their IQs. Some of these kids are at genius level. So she was excited. She was enthusiastic about being a teacher again. So she got into the classroom. She got to know every kid. She taught her heart out. And whenever a kid struggled, whenever a kid couldn't quite get it, she spent extra time with that child, thinking this child's a genius. He's just being a little lazy. This child's a genius. She must be a little distracted. Maybe my teaching style is not right. So she began doing different teaching styles, trying to get things across to these children. And whenever a child would misbehave, she gently and patiently took care of the matter and took care of the child, knowing that the child is a genius. One day the principal talked to her about these children. And he said, these children's scores are so much higher than they were last year. These children have improved so much. What have you done differently? She said, what do you mean? These children are geniuses. Some of them are geniuses and they have good high IQs and they're above average. What do you mean what I do differently? Principal said the kids have improved so much. He says, these are not kids with high IQs. She says, what do you mean? He said, well, here's Bobby. He never did good in English, and now he's doing great in English. Here's Lucy. She never did good in math, and now she's doing quite a bit better in math. Sally never could write an essay to save her life. Now she's a great writer. What happened? Teacher thought for a minute, went and got a piece of paper, showed it to the principal, and said, sir, here's their names, and here's their IQs. These are genius children. And the principal looked at her and said, those are not their IQs. That's their locker numbers. These children, some, are above average, but most of them are average or below average. Something happened. What happened? Well, the teacher saw the kids a little differently. So she acted a little differently. She taught a little differently. She tried a little harder. Because the way you see them is the way you treat them. And the way you treat them greatly affects what they become. And the same is true in marriage. The way you see your marriage is the way you're going to treat your marriage. And the way you treat your marriage will greatly affect what it becomes. The same is true about work and your career. The same is true about your spouse and your neighbors. And the same is true about your own children. The way you see them is the way you treat them. The way you treat them greatly affects what they become. The same is true about God and church. The same is true about your government. The same is true about everything in life. And isn't it true that the way you see yourself is the way you see yourself? Excuse me. The way you see yourself is the way you treat yourself. And the way you treat yourself greatly determines, greatly affects what you become. So what is the lesson here? The lesson is that your perception has become your reality. And if you ever want to change your reality, you got to change your perception. Because your perception always becomes your reality. And wherever the mind goes, the body is sure to follow. I hope you got something out of this story. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.